The Chevrolet Chevette was not fast, not flashy, and certainly not Detroit's muscle car icon. But in one of the toughest moments in American automotive history, it became the quiet hero. For many, the Chevette was their very first car, their first time behind the wheel, their first taste of freedom. It taught them how to drive, how to be patient, and sometimes how to fix a car on the side of the road. What's fascinating is that the Chevette wasn't born in the luxury design studios of Detroit. It was a child of crisis, created when survival mattered more than style. This wasn't just a cheap hatchback. It was proof that sometimes to survive, America had to think small. So what made this tiny, bare-bones car leave such a lasting mark? Let's uncover the little-known story behind America's forgotten hatchback. In the early 1970s, America was living through the golden age of big cars. Massive, gas-hungry V8 sedans ruled the roads. Americans loved power, comfort, and endless cruising. But in 1973, everything changed. The oil crisis hit when OPEC cut oil supplies. Gas prices skyrocketed, stations ran dry, and drivers lined up for blocks just to buy a few gallons of fuel. For the first time, Americans started thinking about fuel economy instead of horsepower. For General Motors, this was a nightmare. Their bread-and-butter big cars suddenly looked like dinosaurs. They needed a small, fuel-efficient car, and they needed it fast. But there was another problem. The Chevrolet Vega, GM's previous compact car attempt, had been a disaster. Rust, blown engines, a ruined reputation. Vega became a black mark. With Toyota and Honda gaining ground, GM had to act quickly. There was no time to design a car from scratch. They needed an instant solution, a small, cheap, reliable car that could roll off the assembly line quickly. And so, in the middle of this crisis, the Chevette project was born, carrying the heavy burden of saving Chevrolet's image. The Chevette was built on the T-Car platform, a design already proven worldwide. In Germany, it was the Opel Kadett. In the UK, it wore the Vauxhall Chevette badge, and in Japan, it was sold as the Isuzu Gemini. GM simply adapted the design for American safety standards and customer tastes, then sent it straight to production. I've always found this move fascinating and clever. GM saved years of development time, turning the Chevette into one of the first truly global cars sold under the Chevrolet name. It quietly marked the beginning of globalization in the auto industry, long before that term became common. And maybe that's part of the charm. The Chevette may have been small, but it carried a global passport, combining engineering from 3 continents. In 1975, Chevrolet officially launched the Chevette, the smallest car they had ever sold in America. Advertisements called it a new kind of American car, cleverly hiding its global origins while selling it as a symbol of innovation. The timing was perfect. Americans were desperate for a simple solution. A compact, fuel-efficient, and most importantly, affordable car. Chevrolet dealers quickly saw a surge of orders. With its low price and cheap running costs, the Chevette became a lifeline for millions of families during the fuel crisis. Driving a Chevette was never exciting, but excitement wasn't what buyers wanted. They wanted a car that started every morning, got them to work, took them grocery shopping, and sipped fuel along the way. The Chevette did exactly that. In 1976, Chevrolet launched the Chevette Scooter, a version so stripped down it shocked the market. To bring the cost as low as possible, Chevrolet removed nearly every luxury feature for its era. The rear seat was gone, leaving a flat cargo floor. There was no carpeting, no glove box door, no armrests, and even the passenger sun visor was deleted. Door panels were painted bare metal, seats were covered in the thinnest vinyl. Outside, bumpers were painted instead of chrome, giving the car a no-frills, almost austere appearance. Priced under $3,000, the scooter became one of the cheapest new cars in America at the time. Chevrolet targeted students, first-time buyers, young families, and anyone torn between buying used or spending just a bit more for that new car smell. Remarkably, even in its most basic form, the scooter inspired pride. It wasn't just transportation. It proved that even in a time of crisis, car ownership was still within reach for any American willing to save. And then Chevrolet tried a new approach, this time not by cutting features, but by adding a touch of emotion. Enter the Chevette Woody. Instead of leaving the hatchback plain and utilitarian, Chevrolet dressed it up with faux wood paneling along the sides and rear hatch, a nostalgic callback to the legendary Woody station wagons of the 1950s and 1960s. The idea was inspired. Take a frugal little hatchback and connect it to warm family imagery, weekend picnics, and the golden age when cars symbolized freedom and togetherness. But in practice, the combination of a tiny subcompact body and fake wood trim looked more humorous than heartfelt. Rather than evoking nostalgia, the Woody came across as a wagon cosplay, a quirky attempt to give an economy car a lifestyle personality it couldn't quite live up to. Automotive journalists of the era had a field day, joking that it was too much wood for too little car. And buyers were just as skeptical. Sales were extremely low, and the Woody package quietly disappeared from Chevrolet's catalog after only a short run. Still, it remains a fascinating experiment, a reminder that Chevrolet was willing to take risks, even bold and slightly ridiculous ones, to make the Chevette stand out in a crowded market. In a way, it adds character to the Chevette story, showing that even the most practical cars had moments when they tried to be something more. And if the Woody was Chevrolet's way of warming up the Chevette, their next move was the complete opposite, a diesel version focused entirely on practicality and fuel savings, no matter how slow it had to be. Working with Isuzu, Chevrolet equipped the Chevette with a 1.8-liter four-cylinder diesel engine, known for its durability and miserly fuel consumption. In the early 1980s, with gas prices climbing month after month, this was a smart move. The Chevette diesel could deliver over 40 miles per gallon, an almost magical number for Americans who were still remembering long gas lines at stations. For many owners, the ability to drive an entire week without refueling felt like a small miracle, especially compared to the thirsty V8 sedans of the previous decade. But the trade-off came in the form of performance so slow it was almost comical. 0 to 60 times stretched past 21 seconds, putting the Chevette diesel in the same league as some light trucks of the era. Car magazines joked that you didn't need a stopwatch to measure its acceleration. You needed a calendar. Behind the wheel, you were greeted with the distinctive diesel clatter, a faint haze from the exhaust, and a light vibration through the steering wheel that made it feel more like piloting a mini work truck than a family hatchback. Yet buyers didn't mind. They weren't looking to win stoplight drag races. They were looking to stretch every dollar at the pump. And in that sense, the Chevette diesel delivered exactly what was promised. Building on that idea, Chevrolet decided to take an even bolder step, imagining a Chevette that used no gasoline at all. This led to the experimental project known as the Electrovette, a standard Chevette hatchback completely converted to run on electricity. Engineers removed the rear seat and installed a massive bank of lead-acid batteries, which powered a DC electric motor under the hood. Despite the era's primitive technology, the Electrovette could reach about 53 miles per hour and travel 40 to 50 miles on a single charge. Recharging was done through a regular household outlet over several hours, a futuristic concept for the late 1970s. What makes the Electrovette fascinating is that it wasn't just a flashy auto showpiece. It was a serious attempt by GM to answer the question, what if gasoline becomes scarce? It revealed that GM was already exploring alternatives to fossil fuels at a time when Americans were still in love with big V8s. Although the Electrovette never made it to mass production, it laid the groundwork for future electric programs like the GM EV1 and today's Chevrolet Bolt. More importantly, it proved that even a humble economy car could become a rolling laboratory for the future. And to truly understand the Chevette, you have to sit in the driver's seat and start it up. There are no modern push buttons or fancy electronics, just a cold metal key. You slide it into the ignition on the steering column, turn it, and the little four-cylinder engine coughs to life. On chilly mornings, many Chevette models required pulling the manual choke, a small knob on the dashboard, to enrich the fuel mixture and help it start. Forget to adjust the choke. The engine would stumble, sputter, or stall until it warmed up. This ritual became a memory etched into many drivers' minds, teaching them to listen to their car. The engine note was neither smooth, like a luxury car, nor roaring like a muscle car. It was steady, slightly rough, but reliable. The sound of an honest little car, ready to go wherever you asked. Steering was unassisted, the clutch pedal was firm, and every control felt mechanical, connecting driver and machine in a way few modern cars can replicate. That simplicity is what made the Chevette part of so many lives. For countless Americans, it was the car they learned to drive in, took on first dates, or carpooled with friends. It wasn't a car to show off. It was the quiet companion in life's most important moments. And that's exactly what turned the Chevette into part of America's collective memory. It became tied to a time when the country had to learn to save, to adjust, and to adapt to soaring gas prices and economic uncertainty. The Chevette proved that small, unassuming cars could play a crucial role in history. It gave millions of people the chance to own a car without a crushing financial burden. It was the car that taught them basic maintenance, how to deal with breakdowns, and even how to be patient behind the wheel. On a larger scale, the Chevette symbolized the American auto industry's transition from the bigger is better era to one focused on practicality, fuel efficiency, and compact vehicles. It also helped pioneer the idea of a global car, sharing its platform with the Opel Kadett, Vauxhall Chevette, and Isuzu Gemini, showing that GM was already thinking globally before it became a mainstream strategy. Today, the Chevette is remembered with a mix of humor and nostalgia. It may not fetch high prices at auctions, but it shows up at classic car events as a time capsule from an era when a cheap hatchback could save a family's budget. And that simplicity is what secured its place in American culture, a quiet symbol of resilience and adaptation. Now I want to hear from you. Did you or your family ever own a Chevette? Was it your first car or the one you learned to drive in? Share your memories, funny stories, or even the times it let you down in the comments. If you've seen one at a car show or still have one parked in your garage, tell us what that feels like. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoy nostalgic car stories, subscribe so you won't miss future deep dives into automotive history, and share this video with friends, especially anyone who remembers the Chevette. You might just inspire them to share their own stories too.